Hello, fellow mompreneurs. Welcome to the Real Moms Podcast, the go-to space for resilient entrepreneurs who are striving for abundant living. I'm your host, Shay Spitz, a mompreneur and a realtor here in Columbus, Nebraska. Are you a mom juggling the hustle of entrepreneurship, family life, and personal growth? Well, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we dive deep into the real, unfiltered stories of incredible women who are navigating the journey of mompreneurship. We'll celebrate the victories, share practical insights, and acknowledge that it's okay to face challenges along the way. Success isn't about the destination. It's about the journey and the growth we experience as we balance our careers and the chaos of family life. Whether you're a seasoned mompreneur or just starting on this exciting path, join me and our amazing guests as we explore what it truly means to be a resilient entrepreneur striving for abundant living. Get ready for real, raw, and remarkable conversations that will inspire and uplift you. Because here at the Real Moms Podcast, we believe in the power of community, authenticity, and the strength that comes from embracing the journey together. So grab your coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's dive into the world of mompreneurship. This is the Real Moms Podcast, where we celebrate the hustle, honor the struggle, and thrive as resilient entrepreneurs living abundantly. Maggie Olson is the founder of Nova Chief of Staff, the premier destination of Chief of Staff education and development. As the first Chief of Staff to a president at a Fortune 40 company who led a multi-billion-dollar business with 5,000 plus employees, Maggie built the President's Chief of Staff model from the ground up. Maggie has 20 years of experience leading large teams and has spent her career focused on both customer and employee experience at companies including T-Mobile, Nordstrom, and Starbucks. In addition to operating the Nova Chief of Staff certification course, Maggie is a fractional Chief of Staff focused on helping mission-driven for-profit startup founders to scale their business quickly. In her spare time, Maggie loves spending time outside with her husband, their dog, and their 1-year-old Max. I like to start every podcast with a motivational quote, and today's quote is "Shine bright in your career." So thank you so much, Maggie, for being on the podcast. I want to start off with, what is a Chief of Staff?
Super fair question. And whether you're in the business world or not, many people don't know what a chief of staff is. I work here at a co-working building in Lincoln, Nebraska, and most of the business owners here don't know, even though a chief of staff is specifically for a business owner. So CEOs, presidents, founders of startups, a chief of staff helps these business leaders stay focused on the vision and strategy and future growth of the company rather than getting bogged down in executional items and follow-ups. Wow. So different than an executive assistant, a chief of staff is strategic. They're high-level thinkers. They are a true partner to the business owner, helping them drive their initiatives forward, keeping the executive team, all the leaders that report to the CEO, aligned and on the same page, and really maximizes a CEO's time. So it's an up-and-coming role. You'll find the chief of staff role across all industries. It's totally industry agnostic. And then you'll go into any industry, big, small, company, whatever, and there also will not be chiefs of staff. So it just really depends on where you are, but it's growing like crazy.
That's amazing. So I have a lot of questions because this is all new to me too, but Chief of Staff, so I'm guessing, so you don't maybe have an interest in the actual, you don't have an interest in the business specifically, like maybe no ownership, but you're just helping the CEO or the founder be able to move their business forward. Is that kind of what I'm understanding, or is it?
Pretty close. So an EA and a chief of staff exist on behalf of a person. So they are there for that CEO's back office, the inner workings of their team, and all of those things. Often they do own certain things. They may have a team at T-Mobile, where I worked in a corporate chief of staff role. I had a team of 7 or 8 different people on my chief of staff team, and we owned things like business planning, business process, communications, events, employee culture. But on behalf of this leaders team. So there was an HR team, there was a communications group, right? But those were, like you're saying, more for the purpose of the company or the business kind of category itself. So communications for the B2B world or HR for this sector of the company. But there's often gaps that need to be filled. Like our leader needed an employee newsletter to go out, and we needed to be tighter on employee culture and feedback surveys and all those things. So chiefs of staff step in and fill gaps where needed and lead a lot of functions of like the back office of a CEO. It's a difficult role to articulate, and we could spend an hour talking about what a chief of staff does because it really has such a huge breadth. But it's a cool role, and it's a fun role for people who are really driven, curious. They like to learn a business from the top. They don't mind the inner networking with leaders of a company and people that like want to be relied on, problem solvers, fast thinkers, that kind of a role.
That's awesome. So you basically, I'm guessing that this company or the CEO reaches out, hires you guys to come in. And I think that's probably where a lot of businesses fail because they're so driven on the business itself, where the importance of a business really comes down to culture, like you said, the community of the business, staying connected with your employees and making sure all of that is operating. So I love the idea of what you have going on. What got you into this?
Well, my background is pretty varied. I've had a lot of history and different leadership roles, and I was a buyer at Nordstrom for about 5 or 6 years. I was an executive in an executive development program at T-Mobile after I finished my MBA program. A lot of different things, a varied career with lots of different backgrounds. Probably excellent networking, being top of mind when roles like this come up. Kind of, it's a high trust position. So essentially, my last corporate role, I was a chief of staff at T-Mobile. I loved the work, but I wanted to do something a little more entrepreneurial. So I left that and started consulting. Nova Chief of Staff, we do fractional chief of staff consulting. But really what's been taking probably 90% of my time is I built a chief of staff certification course. So that launched back in July, and it's really the only course that exists in the world for chiefs of staff. So people have been really hungry for the resource. We've got over 300 students now that have gone through our training. It's wild. We've got 18 countries. Which is my favorite stat that are in the course. So yeah, that's been taking a lot of my time, but we also do coaching and consulting and lots of different training type things.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So now you run your own business. Is that right? Do you own Nova?
I own Nova. We launched last summer.
Last summer. Wow. Okay. And how long did it take you to, I guess, build that and make that transition?
Yeah. So here's where the mom part comes in. So my husband and I were moving. We were set to move from Seattle. We ended up moving here to Lincoln, Nebraska, where he's from. And in Seattle, with like rents and mortgage and everything so expensive, we definitely needed 2 incomes there. But here in Nebraska, the cost of living, at least, I mean, not everything, but at least the cost of housing is a lot less. So we were able to just live on his income for about a year. During this year, I was pregnant, and during this year, I was building my business and this course. It took about a year to build the course, but it's about a 50 or 60 hour self-paced online course with instructor touch points. Every student meets with me. There's a lot of kind of engagement opportunities along the way. It's not just an online course, see you later kind of a experience. It's a real community. And yeah, it's been super fun. It's about $1,500 to take the course. And for 50 or 60 hours, that's about $1,000 under market value. But we're trying to keep it cheap so people who are paying out of their own pocket versus their companies can afford it.
That's amazing. Well, so you did skip out on a big portion of your move from Seattle to Lincoln. So tell the audience a little bit more about what you guys were planning and then how that changed.
Okay. So we were looking for our next adventure. My husband and I met in Seattle, and we were both ready, I think, for a little more sunshine. Seattle gets maybe 150 days of sun a year, and here in Nebraska and many other places are a little more around like that 250 per year. Yeah. So we were set to move to New Mexico. We bought a house in New Mexico. We had some family ties there, but we were going to live like 3 hours away from family in this remote, beautiful area north of Albuquerque called Placitas. We bought the house. We started furnishing it. We quit our jobs. We went to Italy for 5 weeks. We came back from Italy and found out that I was pregnant. And we figured it would take
in Italy.
Yes, we called them our little ravioli.
Oh, that is too cute. Oh my gosh, that is way
Yeah.
too cute.
But we figured it would take a year or two for us to get
Yeah.
pregnant. People, struggle and we didn't want to expect anything different. But since we had gotten pregnant so quickly, we figured we really need a little more support than moving to somewhere super remote by ourselves. So we switched gears 8 days before we were set to move to New Mexico. We pointed the U-Haul to Nebraska instead. And thankfully, my husband had a great job opportunity here. He's a local news anchor. If there's any local Lincoln people, he's on 1011. And yeah, it's a great place to be. I have a 14-month-old now, Max, and it's been really fun and also very challenging figuring out how to own a business while having a baby.
Yes. Yeah. Especially for the first time. Like I got 3 kids and once you get past the first, but when you're a new mom and you're trying to figure all of that out, it can be very overwhelming. Plus trying to run a business, start a business, doing these courses. So in these courses, are you like, did you do a lot of recordings? I'm assuming you probably had to do a lot of research, strategically planning out these courses. Did you have a team to help you?
Okay, so it was just me. I have a team now that I've hired based on our, what we need to support now with our lots of students, but it was just me. I at T-Mobile as a chief of staff, it was my first chief of staff role and it was the first chief of staff my president had ever had. So I was learning without any resources or experience to figure out how to do it. Thankfully, my background suited me really well for the role. There's a lot of planning and organization and alignment, collaboration. Those are things that I'm good at naturally, but I didn't know how to be a chief of staff. Thankfully, I had some people to rely on for templates or like, what should I even do here? But I pretty much had to figure it out myself. And I hired 7 or 8 people on my team that I built their roles, built their responsibilities, every template, every process, all of it. So after that period, I was like, gosh, why isn't there a course for chiefs of staff? And I basically had the material just in my head from all the things we do. We write briefs, we prepare recommendations, we put all hands meetings and offsites together and board materials and investor materials and ghostwriting. And I learned how to do all this. So I basically put all of this into a hands-on practice-based course. So there are videos, but they're like 2 minutes each. I'm just introducing the topic. And then everything in the course is like scenario-based real life assignments. Here's your leader. Here's their executive team. Here are their names. Here's what's happening. You're planning this thing. Here's what you don't know. Go figure it out. And people are putting together slides and decks and briefs and practicing building these things because at the end of the day, I truly believe that practice builds confidence. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the people's biggest barrier is confidence in doing a role that they feel is outside of their reach. So we've got a lot of high-level strategic executive assistants in the course. Probably 50% of our course are super high-level, curious-driven, achieving-focused EAs that are ready for what's next, or EAs who are like, I love my job. I want to stay in EA, but I want to do a little more. I want to figure out how to have more impact. So they take the course to just level up in the same role that they're in.
That is amazing. What got you thinking that you wanted to create this yourself?
You have great questions, Shay. I'm on a lot of podcasts and these are really good. So I was talking to my mom in New Mexico on a visit and telling her that I just thought it was crazy that there's a million project management certifications everywhere you look. You could just Google it and there's probably 50 options for a project management certification. Every university you turn to, there's a project management certification. And yet there is absolutely nothing in the world for chiefs of staff. So I saw that as a white space and I truly figured it would be a little bit of a side thing for me while I was consulting, that maybe we'd have 5 or 10 students a month and it would just sort of like, we'd see how it goes. But it's become the full meal deal for Nova Chief of Staff. Like 90% of our time is based on this course. And we've got a few more like smaller courses coming out because this is a big course. This is a long course. But yeah, it's been really good. We're averaging about 40 students a month coming into the course. So
that is amazing. And how quickly do these people go through the course?
About 10 to 12 weeks for people who are for graduates. Yeah. But some folks, if they're unemployed, if they're in between things, it's taking them maybe 4 to 6 weeks. But it's meaty. Amazing. The assignments are long. It's a lot. But I'm very, very, very pleased with the reviews. I mean, we've got 99.9% of people coming out of the course like, you gave me confidence, validation, resources. I can have the conversation. I feel equipped. I've got great practice. Like, thank you. And I'm just sitting here going, wow, I'm helping people. This is great. But also like it's humbling.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what our life is about. That's what our purpose is, to serve others. And I think we kind of forget that and we find so much satisfaction. And selfishness when we do help others. And it truly is, it's not a selfless good deed. It is a little bit selfish because it makes a huge difference when you can see what you have done for other people. It's like, holy moly, I did not realize that there was such a white space for something, or I didn't realize
Yeah.
I could fill that white space by doing
Yeah.
this, and it's only just going to grow and flourish from there.
Yeah, it's kind of that mission driven for profit. You're doing something that has a lot of alignment with what have you heard of the Japanese word ikigai?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'll send it over to you. You can include it in the show notes, but it's
Okay.
this really cool Japanese concept that basically shows a true alignment or ikigai when certain criteria are met. So it's like your vocation, your expertise, what you're good at, what you're passionate about. And if all those things come together and like you said, you're helping people, then that's where the true alignment really is. And I'm feeling
Yeah.
really good about that right now. And things can change too, right? Maybe in 5 years, it'll be another project, but yeah, it's been a good finding for me.
Well, and I think that's the fun part about entrepreneurship is you don't know where this is going to go. Like this might take off and then maybe you're going to be able
Yeah.
to step out of it, but it's still, generating that income for you. It's still helping people, but then you go down a
Yeah.
different trajectory and you're doing
Yeah.
something else. I mean, it's
I
fun.
love
It's
that part.
exciting. Yeah, it's super
Yeah.
exciting. And then your son can go along with you. I'm sure that he's probably part of and sees what you do. Do you work from home then?
I work at a co-working space
Oh, you
most of
did
the
say that.
time, and sometimes I work at home a little bit, but yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then does he go to daycare then?
We have a nanny come into our house in the
Okay.
afternoons. My husband works evenings, so we have a nice little pocket in the middle of the day that we get some support, and otherwise it's us.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
cool. I know this whole chief of staff thing, it's really intriguing because I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with it. What sort of businesses? I feel like everything that you're explaining, almost anybody who's in the entrepreneurship world could
Yeah.
almost go through your
I
course
would,
and
yeah.
benefit from it some way.
Yeah. So for people who need chiefs of staff, I would say it is industry agnostic. You'll find them in healthcare, nonprofits, startups, big corporations like sports, government. Obviously, government's the only place people heard about chief of staff. And then you'll also like I mentioned earlier, not find it in all those places. But I would say the caveat for business leaders to think about, do they actually need a chief of staff? Obviously, you need to be funded for a chief of staff. Chiefs of staff make probably about a third to double what an EA would make, maybe more. It just really depends on the field, right? Tech, you're gonna make a lot more than nonprofit or education, like
Yep.
just kind of normal stuff. But the other piece, besides just being funded, is are you high growth? Do you have a million ideas all at once that you need to like have somebody tackling and organizing for you? And do you feel like most of your day is spent in the business instead of on the business? Are you executing and following up and circling back and like, dang, if I only had time to think vision and strategy, I'd be able to launch a few more little things that would be good for my company.
Mhm.
That is when you need help with execution. And you either need, or both, an EA and a chief of staff. And most people need both at some point. Usually starting with an EA is good because they'll take your calendaring and expensing and travel and logistics off your plate. And then a chief of staff will take off your more strategic, high level, like, we got to figure out, how do I launch a recruiting arm of my business? How do I do this? I mean, there's so many things that a chief of staff can do, but on a large team, it's also a big function of chief of staff work is business planning, which means when are you talking about your business and learning about your business? When do you retro and look backwards? What happened last month? What happened last year? When do you look forward at a 5-year plan, 1-year plan next month? When are you looking down operationally? What's going on like with this launch happening right now, or these employees, or this turn, or this performance? So chiefs of staff establish and run your rhythm of business and change it often. They make sure people are prepared all the time for the meetings. They run the follow-ups. Like the list goes on, but they do a lot.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the chief of staff is somebody who can really bring it all together and help take your business to another level where
Yes.
it's where most people need in their business, because you can't do it all by yourself. You can. That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing when it comes especially to entrepreneurship. And I think
Mhm.
your role as chief of staff or your experience with all of it has probably really helped you to get to
Yes.
where you're at and grow your business because you went over hiring people like it was a easy thing to do, which maybe it really wasn't.
Well, you're right. It's super insightful for you to notice that, yes, a chief of staff definitely prepares you to be an entrepreneur. I think other components of my background did too. Being a buyer at Nordstrom, I was in 5 different buying roles in 5 years, and every buying office operates completely different people, processes, margins, vendors. I mean, everything is so different. So it's kind of consulting. You go into different business, you figure out how does it work, how do you make it better, and then you move on to the next and you do it again over and over is what I had done. So from a chief of staff perspective, yes, it definitely prepares you to run your business in a sense because you're already able and you've already learned how to look at the forest and the trees. Be strategic, forward thinking, and executional. And that is something that is hard to learn. I think it takes some time to hone those skills. But I think I'm going on a little bit here, but it has helped me definitely establish my business a bit, but it's not easy. Like there's so many things like I never did marketing as a chief of staff. Marketing is a huge part of my business. So I hired it out. I found an agency. You are asking about hiring. I have done a lot of hiring in my life. I've been a leader of big teams for a long time. I've written roles out of nothing. That did come easier to me because of my background. But
I believe it.
man, there's a lot of things where I'm like, okay, so I have to post every day on LinkedIn now. How do I do this? Like, it's
I
totally new.
know. Oh, isn't that the worst when you have to stay consistent with marketing? Because as a business owner, the last thing you really want to take the time to do is go out there and be consistent with your marketing and show up and show your face and do those things. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh my
Like, do I
gosh.
really have to do an email list? Yes, you have to do an email list. Okay. And thank goodness I did. Like it's growing. I'm glad we set all those things up, but there's definitely areas that are not my expertise. And I think that's one thing that good leaders should do is identify what you're not good at and fill the gaps with somebody
Yeah.
who is. And usually when you're a small business, that means you're hiring someone fractionally. I have a fractional CMO, a marketing agency. There's a chief marketing officer. She's amazing. We chat every week about strategy and planning and all the things. Yeah, can't do this alone, but it's been fun to try here and there.
Well, and
Yeah.
I have found because I've always heard, I slow to hire, quick to fire kind of thing. And I've hired people here and there, and none have been like a fail by any means, but I've just been very patient. I've known that I've needed help with certain things over time. I wasn't going out there and advertising, which I probably should have or could have, but you're always like very cautious of that bottom dollar, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the more you start leveraging, you're like, holy moly, like, that's amazing. You can do it
Yeah.
so much better than me. And you really need to focus on where your weaknesses are. And
Yeah.
I'm more of a visionary person. So you were talking about
Good.
organization,
Yeah.
not so much. Not my
Yeah.
thing. Not
An
my
EA
thing.
or a chief of staff would be good for you.
Yeah, like if you just tell me where I need to go and or like where I need to be, I can do it. But like coordinating all of it and it's stuff that I don't enjoy. Like if I
Yeah.
just meet people and get their homes on the market and help the negotiation
Yeah.
process, and I have my marketing people doing their thing. That's what I
Yeah.
enjoy. That's
And
what
that's where
I
you should
enjoy.
be spending your time.
Yeah.
The thing that you are great at that you do enjoy the most, and then getting support in the other areas.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
when you're able to leverage your weaknesses, I really found out that my attention to detail, not a good thing, not a good thing. And
Yeah.
I know that. And people know that because anytime I post something, I mean, I have people who literally will watch out for me, like, hey, you misspelt this, or you said this.
Perfect.
I'm like, great.
Yeah,
And I
please.
don't even
All the
pay them. They
feedback.
just know me.
You're self-aware, you're open to feedback, you know who you are. It's fine.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And you also kind of like brush over the fact that you were building this business for a year while pregnant, becoming a mom while moving. You brushed
Yeah.
over that kind of like it wasn't a very big deal. So I want to draw that back a little bit and
Yeah.
go into what you were feeling or thinking at the time. Did you ever feel like you had, well, one, analysis paralysis, but also something syndrome, imposter syndrome, like where
Oh
you felt
gosh,
like
yeah.
this is not what I should be doing. I am getting in over my head. Like, kind of
Yeah.
tell us
Oh, for
about that.
sure. Oh my gosh, totally. Well, it was an interesting time because I've always worked. I've always been busy. I've always been working. And we moved and I wasn't working. I was pregnant. I was really pretty sick most of the pregnancy, not feeling good. And I didn't have a job to take me out of the house. I was building the course and building the company. And that was probably like maybe part-time. I was trying to do that. What's funny to reflect on a little bit is that that period of time really slowed me down and put me in a place to allow me to write a course that's 60 hours and to just probably in a little bit more of a creative space. And now I find myself like 75 things to do every day, go, go, go. I'm trying to time block so that I do have time to write, but I constantly run into issues. And I'm like, gosh, that period really did slow me down. Although it was very, very, very hard for me. I felt like I was bored and I wasn't doing enough and I was on the couch all the time and it didn't feel like me. But at the end of the day, when I look at what I built, it was just a different chapter and a different time. And I'm thankful for it. And I do think about it a lot that I want to lean into that time so that I can build other things or write other things, continue that creative outlet in a sense. And the imposter syndrome, yes, absolutely. I mean, there's only a handful of chief of staff resources out there if you look for them. I know everybody in the game. There's only a few of us. What makes me the one that's out there like giving advice and being the expert? And I just had enough people tell me, you just got to lean into it. You have a ton of content, you have a ton of expertise, your background. I needed people to tell me, like, just do it. And that's like some of the advice that I give other people is like, just start. Even if it doesn't feel good, like just start. You practice and then you will build that muscle. But absolutely, it's tough. And for me, it helps me keep going when I hear people saying like that post really helped me or this course or like thank you for your energy that you bring to this or that. Like it's giving me little things here and there to work on. So I appreciate the validation in a sense because it still feels hard to be out there every day. And also chiefs of staff, notoriously, we're behind the scenes. We are number twos. We are not the Leos of the world out, out like in front of people.
Yeah.
So I've had to get more comfortable with that. And that's been fine. I've learned to get more comfortable with it, but it's just not natural. So there's always that thing in the back of my head, like, oh, why me?
Oh yeah, no, I can definitely see that. And I like how you brought it up that because I mean, a year, well, not even a year of you launching this does not to me seem like a long enough time. Well, technically almost 2 years because you had built the course and stuff. Does not seem long enough for somebody to put together this content, these resources, these classes, the courses, and be able to launch it and get to the level that you're at. But yet at the time for you, it felt so slow. And
yes, that's a good point.
you know what I mean? So like to me, I'm like, how did you get all of that done in such a short time? But then at that time you were thinking, how am I not doing more? Why am I not doing more? Like, I feel like I should be doing more, which is how I think we all feel. We're almost unsatisfied, which is fine.
Yeah.
But we also need to kind of give ourselves grace that this is happening the way it's supposed to. Because I think we all get into this rat race where we're busy, but then when you look back, you're like, well, what did I actually do? Whereas that time that you took, you may felt at that time it was super slow, but you got a lot done.
Totally. And logically, like I look at Nova Chief of Staff, you can check out our website at novachiefofstaff.com. Like we've done so much, we're doing so much. I don't think anybody's more productive than a mom entrepreneur who has limited time and I bring my lunch every day because I don't have time to go out and get anything. Like there's just no time. But I will say that for anybody who's with me in the like Enneagram 3, that achiever kind of person, it is hard to not feel satisfied. Like that is definitely something that I would like to work on. It's just to be like, wow, look at this. So let's just take a moment and feel proud. And we don't need to do anything else today. Like we're good. But that is just not, I can't even go there.
No, it's like, oh, okay, we'll do that. Oh, okay, moments pass. Now we'll
10
move
more
on.
things. Now this puts us in a position that we can go do these things and we better get that now to keep building and like
Yep. You know what? I've always said speed increases focus. And the busier I am, the better I am. I'm going to make mistakes. I get that. But the slower, like the less busy I am, I'm like, oh, okay. Like I get anxious. My mind starts wandering. Yeah.
100%.
Yes. So, I mean, a lot of times, most days I don't eat lunch because I'm so focused on what I'm doing that I don't. And my husband gives me a hard time for it, but I don't know. And then I find that when I do eat, especially if I'm going to go out to eat with somebody or meet with somebody, I overeat and then I get tired and groggy and I'm not as productive later on that in the afternoon. I'm like, okay, well, if I just found that if I just like snack on something or don't eat, I have a lot more energy. I have a lot more clarity. And then I'll eat later in the afternoon or finally for supper. This maybe sounds like terrible, but I've just found that's what works for me and I need it.
Good. Good for you. That's good. I probably wouldn't recommend people not eating.
No, yeah,
But
no, no, definitely not. I need to be able to bring like something small, just contain it to a certain portion versus it's just when I go out to eat and then I like food. I really like my food.
well, restriction breeds binging. So
Yes.
we could have a whole nother podcast about this, but I've studied intuitive eating and had an intuitive eating therapist for a long time. And once you release restriction, I feel like when I was restricting food, I wanted all the cake, all the candy, all the
Yes.
cookies, all the donut, like everything. And I wouldn't let myself have it. Right. So you'd have like a little piece, and then you have another little piece. And then the next thing you know, you probably had a couple donuts or whatever.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now I allow myself to have anything I want.
Yep.
And I just observe that sometimes I want it, sometimes I don't. It's not a thing anymore. The portions and other things is just not a thing anymore
Yep.
for me.
Yep.
So,
And I literally I would have to agree with that. Like I feel like I do so much better when I don't restrict myself because I don't restrict myself. If I want to go eat a pizza, I'll go eat a pizza. And
yeah.
that's the whole thing. But I'm not restricting myself. It's just I get so busy and caught up on what I'm doing that I kind of forget to eat sometimes. But I did 75 hard last year and completed the entire thing. But I had so many people ask me, what are you going to do when you're done with 75 hard? They're like, are you going to have a drink? I'm like, I don't crave alcohol. What I was craving was like cookie dough. It was the weirdest thing. I wanted a whole container of cookie dough. So on day 76, I think it was day 77. I went out and I bought myself a little container of edible cookie dough and I ate the whole thing and I was very satisfied. But we're good now. I got that out of my system. I still do love cookie dough. It's definitely my favorite things, but that's so
Yum.
funny. So, okay. So where do you see your business going from here then?
We just hired 2 full-time people this week. So
Wow.
I have a chief of staff myself now, which is exciting. And then a content strategy and planning person for kind of our thought leadership brand and different things. So I think that we are just looking to reach more people in terms of our main course, the Chief of Staff certification course. We're looking to pick up a few more consulting clients. We're looking to get into recruiting. We offer coaching. We do events that every other week where we interview different chiefs of staff in different industries and sectors. So continuing to grow those. I do love variety. So like you mentioned, I'd love to pull back here and there and focus on another project and then pop back in and travel and then pop back in and really have the company run itself. We're not looking to sell or anything like that, but at some point, maybe down the road, if there's a company that makes a ton of sense to align with Nova, we would probably consider that. But right now, it's been really, really fun to build a business.
That is so cool, especially here in Nebraska. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's just so many amazing people who do come from Nebraska or come from all over the world. Well, I guess, how do you like Nebraska? I mean, because you're not originally from here. So, how do you like it?
You know what? It's really, really good for us in this chapter of our lives with a baby. What I love about Lincoln is that it's very easy to get around. We live right in the middle of the city. So it's like 10, 15 minutes at the most to get anywhere we're going. There's no freeways. I mean, I come from Seattle. There's 5 freeways within a block that you can get on where my house used to be. And it's quieter. People are really friendly. I do definitely miss the outdoor hiking, the mountains, like the climate in a sense. I don't love the hot and humid weather here, but for everything else, I'm okay with the weather. And I miss the food and beverage a lot. Lincoln does not have great food and beverage. There's like maybe 5 places that we love.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to Kansas City a few weeks ago and just went crazy in the Crossroads area and ate at all the best, yummiest restaurants. And it's like a third of the price of the coastal big city restaurants, but just as good. And we'll go to Omaha for overnights to have fun and have yummy food and drinks and pop around. So we're having a good time. We're enjoying it here.
That is so fun. That's awesome. I definitely, I admire everything that you're doing and your energy. I can tell that you're very
Thanks.
passionate about what you do and where you're going with your business and the people that you surround yourself with, because that really shows. And then, when a business is going to be successful is when the person who runs it has that passion. They have that fire and that energy. Because without
Thank
it,
you.
I mean, nobody else, I mean, you want your leader to have that and your team to know the vision of where you're going to, which you obviously know that. So no, that is
well, thank
amazing.
you.
How can
Thank
somebody, like, do you do free content out there if somebody
A
wants to kind
lot.
of do you? Okay. Where
Yeah,
can they
there's a
go to
lot.
see that?
Yeah. So if anybody's on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/Maggie-Olson-COS for chief of staff. So pretty easy to find there. NovaChiefofStaff.com. We have a lot of free resources. We've got a blog with tons of content around EAs, transitioning to chiefs of staff, what makes a good chief of staff, negotiating, tools, like all the things. And then we do free events every other week where we interview different experts in the field. We talk about kind of the vulnerable moments of job transitions and how they knew they were ready to leave a role and their journey to becoming a chief of staff or, whoever else we're interviewing. Yeah, we had a panel recently called AI in the C-suite, and we had 3 different AI experts come talk about tools they were building for C-suite users, C-suite being like CEO, EA, chiefs of whatever. And we had AI trainers who were on the panel as well. And we had 600 people register for that event. Totally free. Come on in, and just all we need is your email address and you're registered. So yeah, all that stuff's on LinkedIn and on our website, novachiefofstaff.com. And you can also find out information about the certification course if there's anybody who would be interested.
So you don't have an Instagram?
We do have an Instagram. I have a personal Instagram, but Nova Chief of Staff is on Instagram. It is on Facebook. It is on X. Yeah.
You do reels and stuff, like quick like tips of advice and information. Because I feel like Instagram is really where a lot of people are at. And I feel like those quick reels, people would just eat up.
Yeah. You know what? It's a good point. We have a TikTok. It's pretty quiet right now, but one of the new hires that we just brought on, we're going to focus on a little bit more media content, some more video. So I like that. I like that idea. We probably will put a little bit more media on our Instagram, but yeah, our Instagram has tons of things about Nova, tips, tricks, reviews, all the things.
Well, so I'm going to send you a PDF. So his name is Phil Stringer. He's an AI expert. And there's different tools in there for AI where if let's say you've recorded a 10-minute video or a 5-minute video and you want to break it up into smaller pieces.
Yeah.
So you can post to your Instagram rather than having to go in there. It'll actually, you upload the file and it'll give you 10 to 12 like reels that you can post.
Cool.
It is,
oh my gosh,
amazing.
Thanks, Shay. I love that. I'll have to pass it along to our content person, and we'll have to start. So something like this that's recorded, we can upload this and it'll spit out a bunch of content. And then we've got some media content.
Yeah. Then you got 10 to 15 content that you don't have to recreate. You just
love it.
They just post it rather than, you spending the time or money to pay them to go there and edit everything. It's not going to be perfect, but you might have to do a little bit of editing, but it's going to save so much time for them.
Oh, such a good tip. Now, are you doing this on your Instagram?
What's that? Like this? Yeah.
Are you doing that AI tool for your Instagram?
So I have my content creator. She's learning that. So that's something that we'll start doing. And she's been posting a few. I don't like going back and watching my own videos. That sounds probably terrible, but I'm more of an authentic kind of person, and like what it is. I don't want to critique myself. So she does all the posting and I just let it go.
Perfect. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. But you're using it. Your company's using it. That's great.
Yep. Cool. Yep. Okay. So give me one piece of advice that you could give to somebody who is either just starting out or maybe yourself when you got started.
I had the gift of some very strong female leaders in my life, my grandmother, my mom, my aunts, who I never really thought twice about raising my hand, asking for promotion, negotiating a higher salary. And I think that was a privilege for sure to have these people in my life. And I know that it's not as normal, especially for women, to have role models like that. So my advice to people would be to speak up more, thoughtfully speak up more. Don't be afraid of your voice and sharing your thoughts and opinions, and raise your hand for what you're interested in and make it known. And if you're ready for something, like, let other people know that you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Share your vision. Because I think more people are wanting to be part of it, but they're too scared to go at it too.
Yeah. 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 I love that.
Well, that is awesome. You've shared some of your locations on how people can get a hold of you. Do you have a phone number at all that people can get a hold of you, or do you prefer them going to the website or LinkedIn?
Yeah, we don't really have a phone number, but people can email Maggie@novachiefofstaff.com, and we're super responsive, and that's my personal email address. So you've got me.
That's awesome. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Maggie, for being here and sharing your wealth of knowledge and breaking down what a chief of staff is.
You're welcome.
Absolutely amazing. And I'll get you those AI tools sent over to you.
Okay. And I'll send you the Ikigai information too.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thanks, Maggie. And that wraps up another inspiring episode of the Real Moms Podcast. A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their story and insights today. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And hey, sharing is caring, right? Share this podcast with your fellow mompreneurs, friends, and anyone who you feel could use a dose of inspiration. Share it on your social media as well. But most importantly, if you found this episode helpful, please leave me a 5-star review. This helps get our information out to those who have never heard or seen us before. Are you feeling inspired and you're sure that you could add some value to the podcast? Shoot me a message and let's talk. We love hearing from you. So connect with us on social media. Tag me at Shay J Spitz. That's ShaeJSpitz. And share your thoughts and takeaways, or even suggest topics you'd like to have us explore more in the future episodes. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Your resilience is your strength, and your pursuit of abundant living is truly remarkable. As always, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep embracing the beautiful chaos of being a mompreneur. Until next time, take care, stay real, and keep living abundantly.